Majorly we have the freshwater ecosystem and the marine ecosystem. This ecosystem is subjected to seasonal variation. What happens is this particular zone, we call it as the littoral zone. Different types of lakes are there. First one is oligotrophic lake. Hello my dear students, welcome back to the last session on the chapter ecosystem. Last class we learnt about the forest ecosystem as well as the grassland ecosystem. So today we will continue with another type of ecosystem, that is the aquatic ecosystem. As the word goes, aquatic ecosystem, we know the plants as well as the animals live in the water, correct? But the major abiotic factor what we have, that is the water, and the physical aspects of the water makes a lot of difference for the animals or the biotic factors which are there living in the water. That is the salinity of water, the oxygen content in water, the nutrient level in water. This makes a lot of difference, or it affects the biotic factors. That is the plants as well as the animals which live in water in the aquatic ecosystem. Next is about the different types of aquatic ecosystem. If we see the different types, majorly we have the freshwater ecosystem and the marine ecosystem. Under freshwater ecosystem, we have flowing water, which are rivers and streams, and we have still water like ponds, wetlands, lakes, and we have brackish water, that is the delta region. The delta region is formed when the river meets the sea, and that's also called as the brackish water. Okay. In marine ecosystem, we have saline water. In that, there are two regions I can tell, that is the coastal shallow or the coral reef or the deep ocean. Okay, so these are the different types of aquatic ecosystem. So we learn few of the types of aquatic ecosystem. First one is the pond ecosystem. It is a small freshwater ecosystem. It's a very small ecosystem in which there is only fresh water. And here, this ecosystem is subjected to seasonal variation. What happens is, during summer, some of the ponds can get completely dry because the water is completely evaporated, and during the rainy season again the ponds can be filled up and a new ecosystem, that is the animals which is there in that pond, can come up again. So this pond is one which is subjected to lot of seasonal variation, as well as the organisms which are present are algae, aquatic plants, insects, fishes, etc. As well as ponds are very often exposed to anthropogenic pressure. Anthropogenic pressure means the pressure due to human activities like washing clothes, bathing, cattle bathing, swimming, etc. So the ponds are usually the one of the aquatic ecosystem which is most prone to the anthropogenic activities. In pond ecosystem, we can see it's a very small ecosystem in which there are some plants which is there submerged within, and some which are are there on the rocks, and there are very few insects and animals, etc. Now these animals or the fishes which is there in the pond ecosystem are very tolerant to oxygen deficiency, because there is no flowing water here. The water which is there in the pond can have very small amount of oxygen which is present. Okay. Next we have is the lake ecosystem. The lake ecosystem is a giant pond ecosystem. Okay, but it is a permanent one which is present. So a lake ecosystem function like a giant permanent pond. In this, there are different zones which we can give, or the stratification which we can give. The top layer, okay, it's a shallow, warm, prone to anthropogenic activities, and it is called as the littoral zone. This zone, okay, this particular zone, we call it as the littoral zone. And here we can see lot of anthropogenic activities, the activities due to humans which we can see, okay, like washing, bathing, swimming, etc. And here it is very shallow, it's not very deep, and it is a warm region which is present. Next is the Lemantic zone, that is the second layer which we can see. Okay, here there is enough sunlight and the high primary productivity is there in the Lemantic zone. That is, you can see here, this is the Lemantic zone, and here you can see there is enough light and high productivity is there. That is the plants which are there. You can see just below this, there are a lot of plants which is there, and there is a lot of productivity which happens in the second layer. The last layer, the third layer, which is very poor or no sunlight, and it's called as the profoundal zone. So here, according to the light and temperature, if you see, this is called as aphotic zone, or it is the zone where there is no enough light, and this is called as the photic zone, where there is enough light for the organisms to live there. Okay, and the temperature, you can see here, the temperature is little warm, and below the temperature is not very warm there. Okay, so these are the different types of zones which is present: Lemantic zone, littoral zone, and the profoundal zone. So first we have the littoral zone, then the Lemantic zone, and deep below when you go, where there is no sunlight, we call it as the profoundal zone. Example, we have Dal Lake of Srinagar and Naini Lake of Nainital. Okay, so these are some of the lake ecosystem which we have in India. Next is about the organisms which is present in the freshwater ecosystem. That is, here basically I am talking about the lake ecosystem. In the pond ecosystem, it can vary because it's a very small ecosystem. Okay, so we have planktons, that is the phytoplanktons, example algae, which is the most producers which are present. Then we have zooplanktons which depend on them, example rotifers. Then we have nectons that swim in water, example fishes. Then we have neustans that float on the surface of water. Then we have benthos which are attached to the sediments, that is example snake. So these are the different types of organisms which is present in the lake ecosystem. Phytoplanktons, which are the main producers. Then we have the zooplanktons, which are example rotifers, which depend on the phytoplanktons. Then we have smaller fishes, which we call it as nectons. Then we have neustans, they are organisms which float on water. And then we have the benthos, which are attached to the lowest portion, that is the sediment of the lakes. Example, we can give the snail. Okay, so next we have the types of lakes. So different types of lakes are there. First one is oligotrophic lake. In oligotrophic lake, the nutrient is very less. Okay, the nutrient content is very less. We call it as oligotrophic lake. Next is eutrophic lake. Here it is very rich in nutrient content, mainly because of the fertilizer contamination. The fertilizers which we add for agriculture, etc., the water flows through the fields, it picks up all the fertilizers along, with water, and it comes to the lakes, and the lake get contaminated. Such lakes we call it as the eutrophic lakes. Next we have desert salt lakes. The word itself tells desert salt lake. It contains high saline water due to over evaporation. The temperature is very high in the deserts and the water is evaporated. So the water which is present in the lake, they have high salinity. The salt content is more. Next we have volcanic lakes. Again, the word itself, formed by the water emitted from the magma during volcanic eruptions. During the eruptions, whatever the water is there, which is given by the magma, that forms the volcanic lakes. Next we have the dystrophic lakes that contains high acidic water, that is the pH is really very low, it is very acidic, then we call it as the dystrophic lakes. Last one is endemic lakes. Lakes that contain many endemic species. Endemic species means they have species only in that lake, it is not there elsewhere, then we call it as the endemic lakes, which is very, very important for the richness in the biodiversity. Okay, so these are the different kinds of lakes which are present. Next is about the stream ecosystem. This is the freshwater ecosystem, I can tell. Okay, so freshwater ecosystem where water current plays a major role. Here, the oxygen and the nutrient content is uniform, unlike the lakes. In lake and ponds, what happen? The topmost portion, there is enough nutrient and it's rich in oxygen compared to the zones which are below. That is the profoundal zone where there is no enough amount of nutrients or the oxygen is not very rich. But here in streams and rivers, what happens is the nutrients and oxygen are uniform throughout. There is no zones which is there for the presence of the nutrients or the oxygen content. The stream organisms have to face extreme difference in climate condition, but also they do not suffer from the oxygen deficiency, because as they are flowing, okay, the large surface area of water is running water, and due to which the oxygen is getting dissolved. The surface area is more, the oxygen can get dissolved easily and they have enough amount of oxygen. So the animals which are there here, the fishes which are there here in the streams, they are not oxygen deficient tolerance. Okay, the animals have very narrow range of tolerance for oxygen deficiency. So if the oxygen is deficient, they cannot live at all. Okay, so they do not have that tolerance capacity here. Streams are the worst victims of industrial pollution is what is seen. So the main threat for this ecosystem is what? Industrial pollution, because all the industrial effluents we leave it to the stream and spoil the stream ecosystem. So that's about the stream ecosystem. Next we have the river ecosystem. What is river ecosystem? The large stream flowing from mountain highlands are called as rivers. They are much wider and they are much longer, or they go from to many kilometers length. That is rivers. Correct? They are very much wider, isn't it? Streams are smaller compared to the rivers. So the rivers actually start from mountains usually, and thus they are having divided into 3 phases. The first phase being the mountain highlands. Here the water is rushing down with full force and they are very rich in oxygen because they are going with that force, and they are much wider again. The oxygen dissolved is very high in this particular phase, and to the rocks we can see there are a lot of plants which are attached, and all these plants require a high content of oxygen, is one which are living in this phase of the river. Okay, animals are quite less because of the rushing force which they flow. The second phase, they have gentle slopes of hills. They are much warmer if you see, and also they support the growth of plants and fishes that require less oxygen are seen. Here the plants and fishes which are there also contains lot of or requires lot of oxygen. In the second phase, what we can see is in this region there are plants and fishes more, and also they are oxygen deficiency tolerant. Okay, they do not require a very high content of oxygen. The third zone which we can see, or the third phase of river, is the formation of the delta region. Okay, here what happens? River shapes the land, lot of silt is there, and the nutrients are brought, deposited in the plains and in the delta, and they are very rich in biodiversity. So here you can see they are flowing normally, and there is no rushing down, or there is no hill slope which is there. And here you can see there is a lot of silt which is brought out, and also there is rich in nutrients and thus very rich in biodiversity also. So these are the three phases of the river ecosystem. Next we have the ocean ecosystem. Ocean ecosystem is a gigantic ecosystem. Here we have more than 70% of the earth covered with ocean, and it contains more than 250,000 species of different animals, fishes, plants, etc. And also huge variety of sea products, drugs, etc. can be obtained from ocean ecosystem. It provides iron, magnesium, oils, natural gas, sand, etc. The major sinks of carbon dioxide is ocean ecosystem, as well as it regulates the biochemical cycles as well. So ocean ecosystem has a huge effect, and it is one of the largest ecosystem which is found. Next we have the different zones in ocean ecosystem, that is the coastal zone and the open sea. The coastal zone is warm, nutrient rich, shallow, high sunlight, and they have high productivity, whereas the open sea away from the continental shelf and vertically divided into three zones called as the euphotic zone, which has got lot of sunlight. Then it is bathyl zone, which has got dim sunlight, and abyssal zone or the dark zone, which is world's largest ecological unit. And you can understand that here again with the picture. The coastal zone is also called as the continental shelf. It is shallow, it has got light, as well as it is very rich in nutrient, and also it is very rich in productivity. Away from the coastal zone, we have the open sea zone or the oceanic zone, which further it is divided into three zones, that is abyssal zone, bathyl zone, as well as the euphotic zone. Euphotic zone is this particular zone where the light is abundant. Here the light is abundant. Here in the abyssal zone it is only dim light which is there, and this zone is called as the dark zone. And here it is a very large ecological unit where still it is not discovered, that is different species which is present is yet to be found out. Okay, so these are the different zones in the ocean ecosystem. Next we have the different animals which we can find in different zones. That is, you can see here it's a intertidal zone or the high water is there. Here there is low water, and you can see in three zones how it is present. Aphotic zone where the light is very less or there is very little light, or when it is dark you can see you have sponges, octopus, you have hatchet fish, whale, etc. And here you can see in the end or in the almost in the no light zone at all, we can see sea spider, then you can see glass sponge, and you can see angler fish, gulper eel, etc. And you can see the topmost zone where there is a lot of light. Okay, there you can see we have jellyfish, zooplanktons, phytoplanktons, blue shark, turtle. Okay, and we also have the coral, etc. So these are some of the different types of species which you can find in three different zones dependent on how much light and how much oxygen they are getting. Okay, so next we have the estuary ecosystem, the last ecosystem under aquatic ecosystem, that is the coastal area where the river meets is called as the estuary, or it's also called as the delta region. Here there is coagulation is the process what is happening when the fresh water is meeting the sea water, which is very rich in salt content. Okay, here these areas are strongly affected by tidal action. Also, they are very rich in nutrients, very rich in biodiversity. Organisms are highly tolerant. Many species are endemic. Endemic means there are species only which is found in estuaries alone. It is not found anywhere else in any other ecosystem. They are only found in estuaries. For example, we can tell mangroves which are there. Mangroves are only there, mangrove trees we can find only in estuaries. We cannot find them anywhere else. Okay, they have they breathe through the roots which is there. We can see it has come above the land. Okay, and they are also submerged partially into the water which is there. Okay, they are very high in food productivity as well. Next, here the structural components we can see is the abiotic, pH, nutrient, temperature, climatic conditions, etc. Biotic, phytoplanktons, fish, snail, insects, birds, etc. are found in estuary ecosystems. The next ecosystem is the desert ecosystem. It occupies about 35% of our world's land area. Their characteristic is very small amount of rainfall, and the atmosphere is really dry and very high sunlight. There is a lot of sand, very few organisms which can withstand that temperature, and there is a lot of water scarcity which is there. So there are very small amount of species or animals which you can find in desert ecosystem. So more about desert ecosystem. The characteristic features of desert ecosystem are they have a dry air and climate is really very hot. They have very small rainfall, less than 25 centimeters annually. Okay, and the soil is very poor in nutrients and organic matter. Vegetation is very poor because the soil fertility is really very less. Next, we have the types of desert ecosystem. There is tropical deserts, temperate deserts and cold deserts, and they are classified on the basis of what? On the basis of climatic conditions. So tropical desert, temperate desert and cold deserts are the three types of deserts which are there. Here, the features of different types of deserts, if you see, the tropical deserts, if I take, they are found mainly in Africa, that is the Sahara Desert, and Rajasthan, it's the Thar Desert which is there. They are characterized by only very few species. Wind-blown sand dunes are very common here, and they are very hot climate. Okay, the temperate deserts they are found in South California, and they are characterized by very hot summers and very cold winter time. So they have very two extreme conditions or climatic conditions are there in temperate deserts. Next, we have the cold desert. It's found in China, the Gobi Desert, and it's characterized by cold winters and warm summers. Summers are not very hot, but the winters are really very cold, and that's the reason it's called as the cold deserts. Okay, next is about the structure and function of the desert ecosystem. If we see the abiotic components, it is the temperature, rainfall, sunlight, water, etc. The temperature is very high, the rainfall is very less, or we can tell it is actually not sufficient. The nutrient cycle is very low. There is no nutrient cycling at all because there is nothing grown there, and the animals which are there also only specifically they can live only in desert because they have adapted to that habitat. Okay, you can see the biotic components. Under producers you have shrubs, bushes, some grasses and few trees. In desert mostly succulents are there which can store water like cacti. Okay, and they have water inside them to stay alive. They have waxy layer on the outside to protect them from the high temperature and sunlight. Next, we have the consumers, that is squirrels, mice, foxes, rabbits, deer and reptiles, and these animals dig deep into the ground so that they can live and they will not be exposed to sunlight or hot temperature very much. They only come out in the night to find food. Most of the animals can extract water from the seeds what they eat. Next is decomposers. Example, we have fungi and bacteria. Deserts have very poor vegetation because of a very low amount of dead organic matter, and they only very few amount of fungi and bacteria which can grow in that particular temperature only are present. Okay, so that's about the abiotic and biotic components of desert ecosystem. So thank you, my dear children. I hope you have understood about the two ecosystems what we have done today, that is the desert ecosystem as well as the aquatic ecosystem. Thank you. Stay tuned for more updates.